What's up, Guardians, and welcome back, Titans. I'm Profane. Thanks for checking out the video. Today we're taking an early look into the new Titan exotic that will release with the Edge of Fate, and how you'll be able to build around it once it's out. The MELAS Panoplia are a set of exotic gauntlets, which provide a unique benefit whenever using the solar subclass. And these are absolutely beautiful, making us look like a badass matador. This comes with the Forge Master intrinsic trait, so whenever you collect a fire sprite or land rapid solar final blows, you'll trigger the Forge Master trait. This allows you to recall your throwing hammer, which is an incredible benefit that many players have been waiting a long time for. Once Forge Master activates, it's going to remain active for 11 seconds, allowing you to repeatedly throw and recall your hammer. And you can extend Forge Master's duration by collecting additional fire sprites, or by performing well-timed recalls. By executing a properly timed recall, which is going to be as soon as the hammer comes into contact with an enemy, you'll activate a perfect recall bonus, which amplifies the hammer as it returns to you, triggering a solar explosion that will create additional damage to enemies in its path. On its own, our throwing hammer will deal 487 points of base damage, and it provides you with Cure whenever you collect it, a benefit that will continue to function with this new exotic. One of the most frustrating parts of being a Solar Titan using throwing hammers is having to run and chase them down to be able to get the energy back. So by eliminating that problem and providing us with an offensive benefit, this exotic could prove to be an extremely powerful option when it comes to a lot of ad-heavy activities, especially with some of the available fragments and aspects that the Solar subclass offers. There's also quite a few new artifact mods that should amplify this exotic's performance even further. With the Soul Invictus aspect equipped, we'll give ourselves additional sources of health regeneration, ability energy, and bonus damage. Whenever we stand within a sunspot, we will gain a single stack of restoration, lasting 5 seconds. And as long as we're inside the sunspot, we'll maintain a 100% bonus in grenade and melee regeneration. Enemies who pass through our sunspot will take additional damage and become scorched. So with the bonus damage and area effects that our hammer will create, we'll have a much easier time clearing through big groups of enemies. With Roaring Flames active, we'll gain a bonus in ability damage as we defeat enemies with solar abilities and ignitions, and that does include our handy dandy hammer. This bonus can stack 3 times, with the first tier providing us with a 20% bonus in ability damage, 44% with the second tier, and 73% at its max. So whenever it comes to our throwing hammer, that's going to bump our base damage up to as much as 842 points. In those situations where we might not have a hammer to throw, if we have Roaring Flames active, our non-powered melee will inflict Scorch, and it's going to count as a powered melee, which means with the heavy-handed armor mod, we'll be able to generate orbs on final blows. When it comes to aspects, we only have 4 spots available, and based on what activities we're running, we might need to change them up a bit. Ember of Ashes will increase the amount of Scorch stacks that get applied to enemies by 50%, helping us deal more damage and trigger ignitions more consistently. Ember of Char will amp up our ignitions, causing them to apply Scorch whenever they damage enemies, but only on enemies who weren't already scorched. And with Ember of Eruption, those ignitions will have an increased radius size of 20%, allowing us to hit more enemies. Ember of Solace will be our final fragment, so whenever we step through a sunspot and gain restoration, that's going to stay active for 10 seconds instead of just 5, and if we were to get Radiance active, that time's going to be doubled as well. If we felt compelled to boost the damage of our weapons, we could go with Ember of Torches, but this exotic and this build will predominantly revolve around the use of our throwing hammer. And as I mentioned earlier, we have some artifact mods that will really come in handy. Fever and Chill is one example. Whenever we land consecutive precision shots with a solar weapon, Radiance will get activated, giving our weapons a 20% bonus in damage, and eliminating the need in using Ember of Torches. And this will give our weapons the ability to pierce barrier champion shields, so this could really come in handy when we jump into Nightfalls. Elemental Coalescence will generate fire sprites, which will help us maintain the Forge Master bonus. And to play off of that, we have Elemental Overdrive, so whenever we collect a fire sprite, our solar weapons will gain a small bonus in damage. Elemental Days will be a great addition when champions are present, especially barriers, because when champions are stunned, an explosion will be triggered. This will match the element of the weapon, and it will even apply elemental debuffs, which would give us another way of applying Scorch. We've got one more artifact mod that we currently know about, and that's Radiant Shrapnel. This creates solar projectiles that explode and damage nearby enemies, and these even apply Scorch, as if we didn't already have enough ways of doing that. Those projectiles will be created whenever we defeat scorched enemies, and whenever we deal sustained weapon damage while Radiance is active. So there's a lot of potential here for us to ramp up our destructive capabilities as a Solar Titan. Because of some of these new artifact mods, the Polaris Lance should see another rise in performance, so it'll be a great option here. But there's also the Monte Carlo, which refunds melee energy, and it completely synergizes with melee-centric builds. With Forge Master getting triggered off of Fire Sprite pickup, we could alternatively use the Dragon's Breath, which creates a ton of its own ignitions, and it generates its own fire sprites. Legendary weapons like the Aberrant Action will be great to use, especially if you have Heal Clip and Incandescent. Shotguns, especially those that are solar, will benefit greatly from Trench Barrel, Pugilist, and Grave Robber. 1-2 punch does not work with throwing hammers, so we need to stick with Trench Barrel or Surrounded as optimal damage bonuses, which is why I plan on using the Aikilos. I think this is going to be an extremely effective build against rank and file enemies, and in all probability it'll be great against bigger, tankier enemies, which will be a huge game changer for Titans because it's been a hot minute since we had a reason to change over to Solar. Once Edge of Fate is officially here and we've got new armor and new weapon systems active, we'll be able to do some continued coverage on this build and optimize it even further. I'd love to hear your thoughts about the MELAS Panoplia and whether or not you'll be embracing the powers of Thor whenever this new expansion releases. Let us know down in the comments, and if you need help getting an early pre-build setup, then be sure to check out my DIM and Mobilytics links down below. Thank you as always for checking out the video. If you enjoyed and found it helpful, then be sure to hit that like button below, along with the subscribe button if you're new. Both are greatly appreciated, and both really do help support the channel. And until next time, Guardians, this has been Profane, wishing you all some happy hunting.